Still going strongly in the closing minutes. Great one by Kevin McAllister! What a goal that is! Delivery's good, there's Hagen. Now McGlynn, he scored!
It's Stokes on a hat-trick! Goal number 3 for Anthony Stokes!
Ralston saw off Robertson and delivered! Sybil scores! That's the goal! That's the moment! Samuel off and running again. Is it going to be the hat-trick? You know it is.
This is Falkirk Daft.
I've got a semi, you've got a semi, we've all got a semi. I'm not Oprah Winfrey. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Bairns are heading to Hampden for our 4th semi in 14 years. That's unbelievable for a club our size. It's Falkirk Daft. My name is John McInally. As you can hear, my voice is still a little bit hoarse from shouting on Monday night, and this is your podcast dedicated to everything to do with the mighty Bairns of Falkirk. And we are a bit later than usual this week because we need to talk about that quarter-final tie against Ayr on Monday night, and what a night it was. Join me to discuss that, everything Falkirk. It's the Ginger God of Pod, the one-man band of the main stand. It's Ross Wayne.
Good evening, sir. That is a good evening, isn't it?
It is
a good week.
How are you feeling? I mean, you know, we're 2 days on now. This is the first chance we've had to actually sit down. I'm looking forward to the discussion, Ross, because we didn't really catch up after the game. There was lots of hugs, lots of emotion during the game, but we didn't really get the chance to sit down after the game because I had to rush back home. You went to the pub. How are you feeling 2 days on, 48 hours on?
We did, yeah. No, I'm absolutely delighted because obviously last Tuesday was a bit of a kick in the balls. I think we all felt it, didn't we? That it was just a sore one to take, and Monday was brilliant. We needed that, and it was a fantastic night from. Well, I was about to say from start to finish. Obviously, the start of the game wasn't our best, but by the end of the game, do you know? For me, John, I know we talked about this back in the pub briefly when we got back. For me, that actually topped the Hibs game.
Oh, wow.
Looking back, it really did.
Wow. Listen, we'll get into a bit more of that in full detail a bit later on. And I'm just going to say thank you to all new listeners, Ross. Funnily enough, last week's episode, our biggest episode of all time, well over 2,000 downloads. But I think it was about 2,500 odd in the end. So I wonder why that could be. So thanks to all the listeners in Dunfermline for that. I mean, I know it was probably a bit like pornography listening to that last week, you know, when you're muting the hand sitting there in front of the computer, you know, whacking off to us too. But, you know, thank you for listening in to all.
That's a scary thought.
Thanks to listen and I'm sure they're listening this week, Ross, to hear us talking about us going to the semi-final at Hampden. So, you know, thanks for that, guys.
Yeah. I'd wager they're not listening to this one.
Maybe not. But listen, thanks for listening. And actually on that, I've broke my own rule already. Ross, I was told off for swearing on the podcast on Monday night. Gentleman stopped me. He sits actually not far from us. And I was speaking to a couple of guys that I know, Jim Russell, Ian Webster, shout out to them, though they won't watch this because they don't know how to use internet. But basically, this guy said, love the podcast, great stuff, but could you maybe not swear as much? I said, I do apologise. I said, you'd be a Falkirk supporter long enough to know that, you know, we're always going to swear as Falkirk supporters, having to see that. And I said, no, my wife overhears it and she's not happy. So instead of her saying things like, for fuck's sake, could you say for goodness sake? So I'm going to have to self-edit myself now and think of mild swear words. You know, like the swear words that your mum used to use, like flip and fiddlesticks and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to have to start.
Would it not just be easier for him to get rid of his wife?
I maybe should have said that. Well, can you not just get rid of the wife? That's an easier solution. No, so I apologise for that. I will keep the swearing down to a minimum, I promise you. I'm talking of all new things in swearing. I tried to link that there, but it's not going to work at all. I've got a new email address, Ross, right? So basically, we've got to say our big thanks to our friend Richard Lindsay, whose OCD was going into meltdown because our old email address was falkirkdaftpod@gmail.com. Hugh couldn't handle that. So basically, Richard has bought us the domain falkirkdaft.co.uk. Unbelievable stuff. So now, if you want to get any message to us, you can write whatever you want. It could be John at falkirkdaft.co.uk. It could be Ross at falkirkdaft.co.uk. It could be Wayno. It could be on Monthebairns at falkirkdaft.co.uk. It could be Fuck the Pars. Oh, God, I've done it already. At falkirkdaft.co.uk. Whatever you want to do, you get in touch. Just use that, falkirkdaft.co.uk, and you can get in touch with us. So thank you, Richard, for sorting that out for us. Really, really appreciate it. Talking about emails, Ross, you've got something there.
I do, yes. So Kevin Beattie, who many of us know, not just for his work with the club, but a huge Bairns fan. Does so much for the local community. I don't want to be a spoiler, but he helps the official Santa out with Santa duties as part of his charity work in December, going around the areas of Falkirk as well. But yeah, no, Kevin got in touch. This is on the back of obviously a lot of there's a lot of press and local commentary obviously around Strathcarron every day of the week and every month, but obviously more so in recent weeks around the passing of Gary Hill. So Kevin had got in touch. So I'll read out the email because it's really, really well worded, and it was nice of him to send this in, and we'll share his links as well. So Kevin had let us know. So since losing his mum in 2018, his family and I had continued to raise funds for the fabulous organisation that's Strathcarron Hospice. Now, during the Christmas candle remembrance event, Kevin had bumped into Gary Hill and thankfully allowed him to visit in the room for a coffee and have a wee mince pie where they were sat chatting for ages, football and everything else. And a wee tear was shed between them as well. So it hit him hard, obviously, when he got home that night for obvious reasons. Therefore, Kevin had focused on how he could cheer Gary up, and we got approval for the players to go and surprise Gary. As we know, that happened in December. Paul Watson, who Kevin's known for a long time, and so he put a word in with Sean and Big Liam Henderson, and the occasion was obviously to cheer Gary up, and it really, really did. However, as an aside to that, a couple of Saturdays back, Kevin had done his annual fundraising event called the Oscars, and 276 people were over at the Bean Cross. They managed to raise over £11,000, inclusive of gift aid, for Strathcarron, which is absolutely amazing. And it wouldn't have been possible without all the Bairns fans and all the people for Falkirk that attended. And to date, him and the family have now raised over £55,000 for Strathcarron, which is huge, absolutely huge. And so taking part in the charity, organising the nights out, Kevin saying is the easy part. It's the Strathcarron staff, the angels that are all there that are the real heroes, and they raised more than a few glasses that night for absent friends. And as he says, they bought me his email. Hilly was definitely in the room as well.
That's amazing. Listen, thanks, Kevin, for reaching out on that. It's great to hear. And we can't talk about Strathcarron Hospice enough, and all the work the team and everyone does down there. And everyone probably listens to this podcast. Unfortunately, he's had to go into those doors once or twice, and they just do amazing work. So thanks very much for Kevin to that. Right, moving on to a slightly lighter-hearted subject. Ross, bucket hats. You're obsessed. Yes. Obsessed with bucket hats.
Listen, it is a lighter note. So I've had loads of messages from, and I'm not going to lie to you, probably more so the young team rather than the older team. But I've had quite a lot of messages asking, because obviously, as you well know, John, we've got loads of merchandise available with Falkirk Daft logo on it. And the one thing that wasn't on there that we were getting asked for was bucket hats, because obviously it's, in fact, we're getting asked in December, never mind springtime. But we're going to make it happen. So in probably the next week, we will have for sale Falkirk Daft bucket hats. Now, they're going to be good for holidays, obviously, or sunny days in Scotland. In fact, I've just realised there's a bucket hat on the bear on my t-shirt. Just noticed that. Now, more importantly, though, the bucket hats are going to be available for Hampden. And how amazing would it be if we saw loads and loads of Falkirk Daft bucket hats at Hampden when we play Inverness at the end of April. So this time next week, hopefully we'll have a link out for people to buy them. As always, some of the profits will be going to
back into the
to the
club.
football club in the form of back into the club, as we've done with the profits from the Spreadshirt website that we've been using. So so that these will be available. We've not got a mock-up just yet, but over the course of the next few days we'll have that out so people can have a look at it, and we'll share the details obviously on the socials. But yeah, if everyone who said they wanted one has messaged me, we'll sell at least 20, so that's a good thing. But hopefully 50 or 100, that would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be fantastic. And actually, talking about our merch shop, you can get all the merch at shop.spreadshirt.co.uk /Falkirk-daft. You can get all the merch. All the links are below.
However, did Richard not? Richard's given us a new link though.
I believe so, and I can't remember what it is for the life of me at the moment, but we'll put that in the link below. But you get all sorts of merch, and we've actually got 20% off everything, Ross. 20% off everything, starting from the 17th to the 22nd. And do you know what I've added on there, Ross, in the last couple of days into our merch shop? You can now get dog bandanas. Fantastic. You can get yourself a dog bandana, a Falkirk Daft dog bandana. So check out our merch, like I say. Link is below. Check it out, and you can get some Falkirk Daft merch for the semi-final coming up. Right, let's talk about that in a minute. But first of all, a bit of club news to deal with. John McGlynn, the day after we got beat Dunfermline, was made manager of the month. Why does this always happen?
Well, I suppose it was for the previous month, so well deserved. We were unbeaten, won every game. So, and obviously you throw the cup tie against Darvel in there as well. More than deserved. Obviously the announcement was made after that, so it didn't probably land as well as it could have done. But then if they'd announced that before and then we got beat anyway, it might not have landed so well there either. But listen, really well deserved. And what I liked again, John, was it wasn't just a picture of John McGlynn with the trophy. It was the full backroom staff, including the kit men, everybody that was involved. So amazing.
No, absolutely. Well done again to John and the team for winning that. Obviously, due to our Scottish Cup success, Ross, we've got a few rearranged fixtures which are all happening in the next wee while. Montrose, which was arranged for the weekend there, is now going to happen on the Tuesday, the 11th of April. That's 7:45 kickoff up there. And then the week after, which is the 18th of April, we're taking on Edinburgh at the stadium, and that was meant to be the fixture, was meant to be played the weekend of the Scottish Cup semi. So it's going to be a packed April when you look down the fixture list, Ross.
Yeah, it's huge month. And whilst we're all really excited about the semi, we shouldn't be forgetting that we do need to, as a minimum, nail second place in this league. And as I've already said, and I got a bit of heat for this last week, they haven't won anything yet. Dunfermline, they've not won anything yet. They're quite far ahead. In fact, they're very far ahead in the grand scheme of things. But it could all change in probably a weekend. They lose a game, we win a game. We're back to where we were, and we need to play them again.
Back to 5, so, game to
these
play.
These things happen. So listen, it is what it is. But minimum nail second, minimum.
Yeah, God, touch wood, but 9 points clear of third at the moment. I think we've got a game in hand as well, haven't we?
Yeah, we do.
You just tend to think, well, that's looks like it could be something. I mean, what's interesting is to look below us and look at, I think we all would rather have Alloa and Edinburgh in those playoff places, are Airdrie, who are a bit of a bogey team for us. But I think so. I'm touching wood and saying that I think we're definitely guaranteed second. But I'm feeling a bit more positive, Ross. I'm feeling a little bit more positive after last week. When I came in all doom and gloom. I'm going to jump aboard the Ross Wayne train and say, one weekend could change everything. But we'll wait and see.
Absolutely.
We'll wait and see that.
Listen, they've done the hard work. They've put the points on the board. But a re-injury or two or suspension, they've not got a big squad at all. They don't. They you saw that against us as well. The only player of note that came on against us off that bench was Paul McGlynn, and he's played about 45 minutes of football since September. So nothing's won yet.
Yeah. There's a fan survey that's gone out from the club as well. Fill that in. Let your feelings known about, it's asking about the stadium, the match day experience, things like that. So get involved in that if you want to have your say. I'm sure the board members and the backroom staff at Falkirk will be looking at that. So make sure you fill out that. You can get that on the website as well. Talking about the stadium, the North Stand legends have been announced. Remember a couple of weeks ago we were asked to vote on who we want the sections of the North Stand named after, and the names are as follows. Simon Stainrod, which was, it was one, I think we said it'd be, and then of course Russell Latapy as well, which is one of the two obvious ones. I didn't vote for Stainrod because I just thought I'd rather have someone like Scott McKenzie, who really put in, so many years at the club, and quite rightly ended up in the team in the Millennium. But Simon Stainrod's always kind of, just for the, him being God, was always going to get in there. And Russell Latapy, again, a great servant for the club. Russell, over 200 appearances for the club. He must have been round there or thereabouts.
Absolutely. No, he played more games for us than he did for Hibs. And he's obviously regarded as a huge Hibs legend, which he is. But yeah, he played more games for Falkirk. I actually thought it was...
just looking up the stats just now. Yeah, it's 166 games for Falkirk. I thought it was over 200, but it might well have been. I don't know if that just league, but 100. But I mean, obviously, we will get to see the man in his glory in the Dobby Hall very soon. So they were the two givens, Stainrod and Latapy. So they're in. Then the other one from that era that's been, and I'm delighted that this has happened, is John Yogi Hughes. We can't look beyond it. I know times end a bit sour with him when he was in management. Moved on to Hibs, there was frustrations with some of his management stuff. But when you look at it on paper, Yogi in, 2 spells with the club, unbelievable what he did on the park, both as a player, and you got to say he's the most successful Falkirk manager ever. That's it. On paper, he's the most successful Falkirk manager ever. So I was delighted that fans have kind of let bygones be bygones, and Yogi is now going to be commemorated in the stadium. I love that. Love that.
Yeah, it's not the statue that he probably wants, but it's something.
There you go. There's the dig. There's the dig.
No, it's not a dig. I've got a lot of time for Yogi, and he did so much for the club as a player, firstly, and then what he achieved as in management for us was huge as well. As you say, it didn't end as well or where we thought it was going to go, but in terms of everything he did, no, he did fantastic, and I'm not surprised. He's been voted in there as well.
Yeah, the other two from the kind of older list that we've went in are Andy Nicol and Tiger McLaughlin as well. I mean, I didn't really get the chance to see these players, but from what I read, from what you hear from the older end of the support, these guys are absolute legends. Andy Nicol especially.
Yeah, I voted for both of them. Obviously, Tiger McLaughlin's not a player I witnessed firsthand. Heard so much about him. Andy Nicol, if I'm being honest, I didn't see much of Andy Nicol other than literally a couple of appearances. Obviously, his testimonial, which was very celebrated as well. But he had a suite named after him at Brockville, so that's always stuck in my head. That was the hospitality suite at Brockville, was the Andy Nicol suite, so that's stuck in my head. And yeah, well deserved for the pair of them. Well deserved.
Wait, this is where I was confused though, because we were meant to have had 3 from the older list and 3 from the kind of newer list. But I'm delighted that I don't know what's happened there. But Super Sam McGivern was the final name announced for the as one of the legends for the North Stand as well.
Listen, like you, I thought it was meant to be another older generation player. Sammy will be happy that he's classed as a younger player. I think I'm trying to think who my last vote went to. It was John White. John White, the ghost. But in terms of Super Sam, delighted for him. He's done so much for the club. Still huge Falkirk fan. Gets to loads of games. He's done so much for the club over the years, both on and off the park, and he'll absolutely love that. And do you know the other thing I like about it, John, is see if you think about what we've done, and I would need to check about Tiger, but I think if everybody's still here, they're going to know, they're going to see this in terms of this accolade, and it's a bit like Crunchy with the Kim McAllister stand. Like, how often do people get named when they're long gone and they don't even know or see these things?
Yeah.
So it's amazing. If not all of them, I would need to check Tiger, but I think hopefully is. But everybody else is here live and well. Hopefully Tiger is as well, and the club I'm sure the club will have some sort of celebration. Maybe in the new season, the start of the new season, there'll be a celebration, and the legend stand will be official.
Absolutely. And Tiger, from what I can read from Wikipedia, Tiger is still with us at the ripe old age of 75. There we go.
Fantastic. Good to hear. So that I think that's brilliant, John. Every all being well will be there to see their name on in the Falkirk Stadium. So that's amazing.
No, absolutely. Brilliant. And just a final bit, what a result for the Falkirk women at the weekend there. 3-0 down against St Mirren, and they came back to win 4-3. Eva Rule coming off the bench, getting two. Susan Wyatt got one before that as well, and she scored in the last minute as well to make it 4-3 to the Falkirk women. Absolutely unbelievable result. Go on to the website, read the match day report. Charlie, who's on our Discord and all that sort of stuff, writes all the match day reports for the Falkirk women, and doing an absolutely fantastic job. So yeah, brilliant for the Falkirk. What a comeback that is.
Brilliant, John. Absolutely brilliant. And as you say, a shout out to Charlie, because she's ever present on the Discord chat, leading the line for the women's team. So, but that's outstanding. That's a brilliant and a wee last minute winner. Can't beat it. As we know.
Remember that game actually? It was the 4-4 at Love Street. Remember that game? That was, I think Lee Miller got two. What a game of football that was.
I do. Yeah. Is that when Lee Miller had, like, remember he had bleached his hair or something like that one time? I'm sure that was him at that game.
Well, I know. I think we were 4-3 up, or it was 3-0 and then 3-3 and then we 4-3 and then at 4-4 or whatever. But I just remember it being an unbelievable game of football. But there you go. And finally, a new podcast, a rival podcast. We shouldn't be talking about it, but of course we're going to. The Falkirk FC podcast dropped this week. We spoke to Kenny and Keith on this podcast. This is almost like a follow-up of where we're at now. Ross, you've given it a good listen. What are the kind of big points that we can take from it?
I thought it was brilliant, actually, and I know you're probably jesting about the rival, because do you think there would be as much swearing on the official club podcast?
I don't think so. No, I don't think they'd be getting told off in the main stand about their language.
Yeah, probably not. Although I've heard Keith with many an F and C bomb, but probably none so in his recent months as a director of Falkirk Football Club. But no, listen, I thought it was brilliant. As you say, if you think back to the podcast we did, which obviously talked around the financial situation, this podcast through the club official account, kind of got that update. And yeah, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was well timed. It might have got lost in the sort of club tweets and social media posts that were going out on Monday because of the cup tie. So if I was being a wee bit critical, I would maybe have put it out on a different day. But hopefully it's got loads and loads of people having listened to it, because it's really important that people do hear kind of where the club is now versus the sort of tougher times early in the season. We're obviously, it's never ending, because whilst we're on the way up, it's never ending, which I think was a comment that was made on the podcast as well. So absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, the couple of bits that I took from it, obviously talking about the pitch replacement in summer, made perfect sense. And, you know, there will be a lot of people among us that want a grass pitch, but they were keen to point out that maybe if we get up to the Premiership, that might be an option. But at the moment, in terms of the revenue that the pitch brings in, concerts, obviously the community using it, people using it for 7-a-sides, what have you, it's really important to keep that. And, you know, we're going for the top end and getting half of it paid for through this initiative. So it's been well timed. It's worked out really, really well for everyone. I'm guessing the cup run money, a lot of that will go into the pitch.
I think this said £150,000 needed to be met by the club, which going by the figures that Kenny mentioned that we would make from the cup run, certainly will more than cover that. If there's grants available, which it sounds like it is, brilliant timing, just as you say, and it's the right thing at this moment in time, not just in terms of the fact that we need it for all the teams and community teams and academy teams that could be doing it. It just makes sense in terms of the quality as well, because if there's an option to replace, now at the time when this one was put down, it was the best there was available. And it's really, really encouraging that we're going down the same ethos of replacing like for like, the best available, because even though not every single player out there loves Astro or is a big fan of AstroTurf, if you've got the best sort, that's going to be a factor as well.
Yeah.
So that was really encouraging. Obviously, they talked about the fact that at the AGM, they had to talk about the historic debts and what happened. They explained about the missing payments or the non-payments from the cowboy at Clark Epos. They probably didn't call him a cowboy, but we can. They talked around, obviously, if it hadn't been for the patrons and the support society, and obviously the really well-timed Volks money that came in, and obviously that investment from Phil and Carrie Rollins, the club might have been in a horrible state a long time before we needed to come out and ask for money. So that was good. The other things I liked, so the FSS obviously came up. To me, and I think you've taken this as well, there is a commitment there from the club. They're big fans. They're obviously contributors to the FSS. So I got that loud and clear. I think they said the FSS numbers have grown. I don't mean as in the number of contributors, but the percentage of shareholding has went from some like 3% to 9%, which is huge in such a short period of time. So that shows where that can go as well. Obviously, they quite rightly thanked every single person listening to our podcast, but their podcast as well, for the effort that's going in. Everybody's buying hospitality, the retail stuff's all up. Over 4,000 at the last two league games, 6,500 there on Monday. A majority of it were Falkirk fans. Just absolutely fantastic. And honestly, I thought it was a really, really positive message. So hopefully as many people listen to it as they can. Obviously, they touched on the Falkirk Forever venture that's going to be coming down the road. Being honest, I thought they were really clear on this occasion in terms of that they don't want people to leave the FSS. In fact, they actually said that they don't want people jumping ship. This is a donation scheme, and it will work as everything else does. So like you've got 1836 Club, hospitality. There's no difference to this. So fingers crossed that'll kind of be as successful as everything else that's going on.
Yeah, I did thought that was very well put by Kenny, actually, in terms of the FSS and the Falkirk Forever initiative. The one thing that was slightly worrying is talking about the football budget and how there might be a 400,000, if we were remaining in League One, there might be a £400,000 deficit there in terms of our footballing side, and also it was good to hear about, Pierce Carroll and the setting up of the academy and, some sort of reserve team next season as well, where they're looking to bring 4 or 5 other modern apprentices on to the football staff. But yeah, that was the worrying part of it. But as Kenny said, it just doesn't stop, and that's the thing.
Yeah, no, it can't stop because we all want to be back. I'm not going to use the term where we belong, because where we are is where we are. But we are a club that could be far, far higher currently in the Scottish football pyramid. And so the 400 grand with the team, I get the impression that's going to be something they're never going to want to do, because obviously it would then limit John and Paul from signing the very best as to what they can afford. So I get the impression that everything will be done to not let that happen. Obviously, we're all hoping for promotion this year by hook or by crook, and if that happens, then I don't even think we need to. Granted that they talk about they might need to then keep thinking about this increase in the budget to be competitive, depending on what league you're in, what have you. But they'll be planning for all eventualities. This cup run is definitely going to be a huge thing for us, though.
I mean, the thing is, we'll get into the game. You look at the team we've got out on the park at the moment, and actually, on paper, it is a championship level side in terms of the players that we have in the door at the moment. So, when we're talking about going up to the championship, I don't think, and if we can certainly keep, well, it's probably a big ask, but the likes of Kai Kennedy, you get Max on maybe a season long loan and things like that. It's, that, for me, that squad, and we'll see how we do against Inverness, but that squad in the park is well worth a championship level. He could find himself.
I think, yeah, no, I don't disagree, buddy. I think, I don't think in the nicest possible sense, I don't think it's a top championship scene in terms of what we've got out there. There's a few players there. I think we're another window from John having the squad or starting 11 that he wants. I think that still has to come, because I think there'll be some players that will depart the club and won't be renewed in the summer. I'm sure there will be. So I think he's another window away. But what a progress we've made in such a long. And John McGlynn said it himself. You saw how he was after that. Did you see the BBC post-match interview with him? Yeah, and he was wired, like we all were.
Smiling.
He was smiling. He's never smiled for Libby. Wanted to tell Libby that. But he was wired. And one of the things that he talked about is, and it's not sugarcoating it. Like, it was a mess when he took over. Like, the playing squad was just all over the place. So what he's done is phenomenal in such a short period of time. Whether we get to the Scottish Cup final, I've no idea, but we'll all enjoy the day when it comes. And fingers crossed we get through. The only last thing, John, because I know we're going to talk about the game, is it was interesting what they said about the council, because they spent quite a bit of time talking about the council in terms of the relationship there. So from that podcast, not that we talked about the council too much on our one when we had them on, but obviously recently we had Stuart on, and it's interesting. So the relationship's obviously not as bad as what is out there in terms of what people think that the relationship's like with the council. It still sounds like, from our perspective, we're contributing to this place regardless of what league we're in, and I get that. Everybody's got a bill to pay, including the council. But yeah, it sounds like it's a positive relationship that's there. And by hook or by crook, we obviously need the stadium. We need it to be clean, tidy, well run. The council need us as well. Like, that is a white elephant without the football club. So, and we bring an awful lot of people to the town every week and every month. And I'm sure they appreciate that as well.
Yeah, no. Oh, interesting. Anyway, we talk football. I've been desperate to talk about it for the last 40 hours. I'm really looking forward to doing this. But every week on Falkirk Daft, we like to invite a guest pundit on to help us talk about the matches. And this week is a bit of a hero, I would say. It is Kieran Kuhn. Now, if you don't know who Kieran is, he's the boy that organised the TIFO before the game, which looked absolutely brilliant. So please welcome to Falkirk Daft. It's Kieran.
I'm all good. How are you?
All good, mate. All good. Listen, that looked fantastic on Monday night. You must have been delighted the way it turned out.
Yeah, I definitely. I was worried all the way up until the flags were all raised and until I'd seen photos of it. So it was great to see it actually worked out the way before it would.
Did you manage to get all the flags back, Kieran?
No, we've actually got none of them back. There was too many. It was like the flag part was mere stood on all the time. Sticks were snapped, and even when we went out to behind the wall after the game, there was loads of flags in there as well. So I think a lot of people just took them home.
Oh, mate. Well, listen, that scuppers the semi-final plans. You're going to have to get something else sorted now.
Well, we spoke about the semi-final, obviously, but it's just because of how big Hampden is. We're unsure about it now with what section we'll get as well. Of course, we'd love to be able to do something, but depending on what section we get, depending on how many tickets we sell, it could either look amazing, or if we did do one, it could look terrible. So,
yeah, no, absolutely. Well, listen, look, great, Kieran. You're part of the young team. You were up behind the wall. We saw a video on our social medias if you want to check out. Were you one of the ones that were calling Hampden?
Aye, it was good. It was good.
Fantastic.
Good banter, like that a lot. Right, okay, Kieran, you are one of the young team, so we'll start off with the question: how did you get into Falkirk? Was it through your mates? Was it through family?
Yeah, just through my dad when I was really young.
You remember your first game?
I was mascot. It was a Premiership game against Hamilton.
Oh, aye.
So I don't know when it would have been. I must have been about 3-4 at the time, but
And did we win?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Do you remember who the
I'd
captain
hope
was, or what player you held hands with?
Um, oh, there is a photo of it somewhere, but I can't mind who it would have been. There is a photo, but because I was the Falkirk mascot, and this is when away fans had mascots as well.
Oh, right, okay.
So there was a Hamilton mascot as well, but I can't mind the photo really. I just know there is one.
Yeah, we need to look into that. Right, okay, so who's your favourite Falkirk player of all time then, Kieran?
Of all time, I liked Will Volks a lot, definitely. I'd probably him or Sybil.
Yeah.
Good
One of
choices.
the two.
Good choices.
You know, we're talking actually, Ross, we're talking about the Legends Initiative. For the young team, you know, Volks and Sybil are you know, our Latapane and Crunchy almost, aren't they?
Yeah,
I mean, I think because we've seen Latapane, Stainrod, and all that sort of stuff. You know, you forget about how much of iconic players Sybil and the Volks were, you know, and I'm sure in years to come they'll be regarded in the kind of same breath as Latapane, Stainrod, and the like.
Do you know? I would say so. I think Sibs he's played so many games for someone that age, and like obviously as in the prep to the game on Monday, I was having a look at like old Scottish Cup ties and stuff like that. And when you think back to how good Sibs was, even going back 10 years, well, we lost it 4-3, but remember that Hibs game at Hampden. Sibs was immense that day, and he was such a young lad. And then obviously the header against Hibs there in 2015 as well was just outstanding. And Will Volks were just, as you're saying, Kieran, Will Volks he did everything, scored amazing goals, got stuck in. He just proper.
Yeah.
And he could have quite easily been in that stand as well.
No, absolutely. Right, okay, and we've been waiting for talked about for like half an hour. I've been itching to talk about. Let's talk about that cup quarter final on Monday night. 2-1 to the mighty Bairns. Callum Morrison, Kai Kennedy, Ayr scoring through Akinyemi. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Going into the game, bit of a change in the team. We had Hendo coming back in for Kai after Dunfermline. Matty Wright started up front in for Gary Oliver, and Brad Mackay came back in the side for Sean Mackey. Bit of a tactical switch as well, starting out with Callum Morrison on the left and Nesbitt there on the right. When you saw the team initially, Ross, what were your immediate thoughts? Was that the team you would have went with?
Almost. I thought Hendo would come back in.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much for Kai, but I thought he would come back in. Mackay, for me, coming in for Mackey was a no-brainer because as much as he's been lamented in recent years, Brad Mackay's just been phenomenal when he's been playing this season, and he was awesome on Monday night.
Yeah.
Wright coming in for Oliver, I didn't see. I thought it might have been Burrell. We obviously knew it wouldn't be Jordan Allen because he's cup tied. But Wright, for me, pre-match, I thought, what are we doing here? And if we're being honest, he was quite easily going to be the first one subbed as well.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Mr. Wright a bit later on. Kieran, what did you make of the first, obviously you're doing the TIFO, stadium's absolutely bouncing. That first 15, 20 minutes, what did you make of it?
Oh, terrible. It was shocking. Well, we did have a good chance with Max. Obviously, he hit it low, never really done anything. But you could just tell straight away with the way Ayr were coming forward that their striker was going to get a good few chances. And somehow he didn't get that second one that went across the face of goal. I feel like we're lucky with that one especially, but it was a dodgy start. But obviously it was good to turn that around eventually.
Showed them too much respect, do you think, Ross?
I think so. I don't think we weren't up for it because, as you've just said, like the players looked, chests were out, chins were up. I think they were up for it. Same as the fans. Loads of noise, loads of fanfare. We just stood off them. Silly. We weren't closing them down quick enough. We were throwing passes left, right, and centre that just weren't aimed at anyone in particular, and it just felt as if we were a wee bit scared. Obviously, as Kieran says, the big lad scored a goal that was a wee bit worrying because he just sort of kind of walked his way through. I think it did take a nick, though, didn't it?
I don't know if it did. I've watched it back and I'm trying to work if it took a nick or not. But I mean, he was that first 15-20 minutes. It was like it was almost like they were scared of them. You saw like Donaldson almost like for the goal, get shrugged off. But I mean, he kind of just strolls across and hits one low, and he looked like a right threat. Anytime he got the ball, and I think we almost learned how to deal with him as the game progressed, but it was just like, God, it was worrying every time he got the ball. And I thought, we started off okay, but then we fell away really dramatically, really quickly, especially after that goal was scored as well. And that was obviously really early on. But I thought we looked like a League One side at that point, and they looked like a Championship side. Harsh? I don't know.
I don't know if it was harsh, but we needed something. We just needed something to stick. And it just wasn't for a period of time. Kieran, I don't know what you felt from behind the goals, but just John McGlynn looked exasperated at the side of the park at times, doing his penguin arms, trying to look as if he's absolutely raging with the players. They can probably see that. But Kieran, what was your thoughts?
I feel like it was more like, obviously they are the Championship side, we are the League One side, and I think we've came into the game and we've struggled to find our feet for the first 10, 15, 20 minutes. And I think it was more of they had the ball a lot more than us at that point, and we weren't playing the passes we were used to playing before the Dunfermline game. Like, we played, as soon as after all of that, after their goal and their chance, it felt like there was just a switch that had turned, and we went back to the way we did play well always, and we were just playing the passes we knew how to play, and we were keeping it like together. So it was just it was a weird one to see, but we did still at points play good football in that 20 minutes. But when it was like short-lived, and they turned it around and just bet us to everything at that point.
Yeah, it was almost like we didn't know how to deal with a 4-4-2, because that's what we set up. It was two solid banks of four, the two up front, Akinyemi and Maguire, and they just kind of pushed us when we were just finding out balls into the fullback positions, and we just couldn't handle that because they were just doubling up on the fullbacks, and they just couldn't get forward, and it just really unsettled our game. Someone talked to me and said McGlynn is getting schooled tactically here by Bullen, and they also said about McPake as well, how, and someone said that, I said, well, I can see that, because it was like he should be the one giving the schooling tactically, but Bullen hadn't seemed to have it spot on, certainly for 20 minutes, and then last 15 minutes of the first half, we up our game. There was the chance from Call, obviously, probably, goes across goal. I don't know what Steve McGinn's doing, putting it back in. I think he must have misjudged the header. But and then Cole has the chance at the back post, and he's like, "Oh, that was a big chance." And then there was another chance at the back post, because those balls from Max over into the back post were causing all sorts of problems from set pieces. But yeah, it was
Max's distribution was amazing on Monday
night. From set pieces, absolutely, and he was excellent. I thought that midfield, I liked it, but Nesbitt looked out of sorts, on that wing, playing it on that right-hand side, as did Cal on the other side. I just don't think Cal settled in that first half at all. But yeah, there's a big, Max looked great. He looked great in that. Great to see Hendo in. I thought, again, see that physicality he brings to the midfield and his distribution, and he just, he wins everything in the air. he's a real essential part of that midfield. I think we missed him really against Dunfermline. I think if Hendel had started, we talked about it last week, Ross, it might have been a slightly different game in that midfield. But yes, it's an interesting one going forward, what he does, because we all know he's a big fan of Aiden. So, and he didn't look great out there on the left. So, I'll be interested to see.
I don't know. I don't think it was Nesbitt's. I don't think it was Nesbitt's best game on Monday night. And again, I wasn't overly shocked when he got subbed in the second half either, to be honest. But as you said, though, John, that last 15 minutes, we looked far more assured. I think we made some small changes in terms of how we were set up as well, which helped that. I think, as Kieran said, if they had scored that second goal, the one that flashed right across the box, it could have been a completely different game of football.
Yeah,
but they didn't, and as we know, they didn't take any other chances that night. So, yeah.
We came out the second half, Kieran. We seem to be come out flying and kind of following on from the last 15 minutes of that first half. What do you put that down to?
Well, I think the players knew it was on the line, especially after Tuesday, because I feel if we lost on Monday and after losing Tuesday, there would be a lot of this season was like, oh, it's kind of done until May for the players. And I feel like they knew themselves as they had to go out there and at least show that they're willing to try and willing to put the effort in, try snatch a goal back. And obviously John's probably went through them. He seems like the type of manager at half-time will absolutely be like them. But I think they knew themselves and they got more comfortable on the ball towards the end of the first half. And I think they knew at that point they could play how they wanted to play.
Yeah. I think, coming out of that second half as well, we were all calling for it at half-time as well, just to make a sub. I think Matty Wright, we touched it on at the start of our analysis of the game, wasn't great. It was like, when I was surprised, like Ross was, about Burrell not starting, especially, I thought he came on against Dunfermline, he offered something different. Burrell's all about pace, energy. He's good at breaking the lines, good, decent in the air as well. Oliver, we all know his game. We'll talk about Oliver just in a minute. Hold up play, dropping deep, linking the play. I don't know. I know in McGlynn's post-match interview, he said we need physicality on the park. I honestly thought Burrell could have brought that to the game. I was very surprised he didn't start. But what did you make of Matty Wright then, Ross? You weren't a big fan.
I think he's shite, John. And I hate to, but berate him, but he's done nothing so far in a Falkirk jersey that I've been enamoured with. Like he's missed a couple of half chances. He doesn't try a leg. He was jogging at points on Monday night when you're thinking, just go for it, and he didn't. And I genuinely don't know what John McGlynn sees in him, and not that John will be listening, but I just think we've got other options there on the bench that could have done a bit of damage. You saw the difference as soon as Gary Oliver came on. What a difference he made! Like he held the ball up, he brought others into play, he put himself about, he was running the channels, he was all over the place. You didn't see any of that from Wright at all on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean the subs were made, round about the 60th minute. Our tails were up coming out of that second half. I thought Max found a lot of space. He was finding space all over the place. But the right subs, absolutely spot on. Oliver came on, Kai Kennedy came on, and those two actually changed the name. And not long after, we get the penalty. Definite penalty, Kieran, do you think? You did a better view at the South Stand?
Aye, straight away. You could see the hand went up and it just bounced off his hand. You could tell it. And if it wasn't a penalty, I wouldn't have been so surprised because it's happened all season. But the ref was good enough and he was able to spot it straight away. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know what his hand was doing up there, but listen, it was delighted when it hit there. And then Callum Morrison, who had just been switched back out onto the right after Nesbitt was taken off, steps up, takes the penalty. Ross, I don't think you had your back to it at one point. Did you actually watch it? Because I knew you had your back to it. No, you didn't watch it, did you?
No, I can watch. I had this vision of him absolutely leathering the ball, and it would either go over or hit the bar or something. Not too dissimilar to their penalty, but what a finish! Like cool, calm, collected, stepped up, and when you see it from the BBC camera from behind the goal as well, like it was a perfect penalty. Put it into the side net, and just beautiful.
The keeper went the right way, and I thought, oh God. But I mean, you don't stop that. Just it had the pace, it had the precision, and like you say, perfect penalty, low, hard into the side net, and so bang on. And we've not had many, and the last one was obviously taken by Guff as well. So it was Callum. In fact, is that Callum's first? Did he take the one at Wick? He was off the park by then, was he? Or was he?
I think it was Gary Oliver.
It was Gary Oliver, yeah. So that's Callum's. That's Callum's first penalty of the season. So that was it was such a relief. So 1-1. Here we go. Come on, we've got the tails up. Here we go. And then what happens? Jesus. Absolute nightmare at the back. They had a shot. Akinyemi again. Kinnear should have maybe have knocked it out. He was maybe slightly at fault for that first goal as well. But I mean, then he has an unbelievable double save. Like that kept us in the game as well. The double save from Kinnear.
John, not for the first time. Remember at Airdrie, he had his double save there as well, and so he's got previous for being so switched on that he knows the first phase is not done. He's there ready for it, and not against PG, but I think we've seen enough in 3 or 4 games to suggest that this guy should be continuing as the number one in the for Falkirk, 100%.
Absolutely. I think that second one when the Akinyemi hits it and he just puts his left hand down to the front post and just great save. However, for the what eventually led to the goal when Akinyemi again is just hit it and he was just hitting it. I think that's a great example. We'll come on to Kai Kennedy's goal. Is like we didn't make their keeper work at all, and we need to start learning from that and taking shots, because we didn't really make their keeper work at all. But Akinyemi kept making Big Brian work. Brian probably should have tipped around the post, but then the ball comes back in, and Cole Donaldson, he's in 2 minds for to chest it down or just empty it. He kind of gets caught in no man's land, and it's a penalty for them. What did you think, Ross, looking back on it? At the time, I thought that's a definite penalty. Looking back on it, no.
No, at the time, I agree with you. I thought, oh Christ, why has he done that? But it was soft when you see it back, and I think the commentators on the BBC say exactly the same. It looked really, really soft. I think if VAR had been in operation, I'm not convinced that would have been given as a pen. Don't think so.
Yeah. Kieran, I mean, from your end, did you think it was a penalty?
I couldn't see it at all. No. I just seen players go down and the whistle go, and I was like, fuck's sake. But when I look back, I need to agree. I think it was extremely soft penalty. A lot of folk have said definite penalty, but I don't see where it is. It's not like he wipes him out or anything. I feel like the Ayr player's looking for the penalty.
Yeah,
me too.
At that point, you're going, oh no, Chris Maguire steps up, experienced pro, proven goal scorer at all levels he's played at, and you think, oh Jesus, and he's went for the top bin, and it's just rattled the post. I couldn't believe the sound it made. It was the most beautiful sound in the world when it absolutely rattled that post and bar. Unbelievable stuff. It was great. And then obviously forgot the rules when it rebounded off to him when he tried to kick it as well. But it was a moment of absolute beauty. Absolute beauty.
It sounded almost as good as Bob McHugh's when he hit his off the post.
Penalty miss then. Delighted with that. And then it's happened so many times to us. It was just a beautiful thing. Kai Kennedy, who looked really dangerous when he'd come on, not so much against Dunfermline the week before. I thought Kai looked really up and at it. And certainly Callum switching back to his more natural. Yeah, comes on. And he just, steps inside. He's thinking about a shot. And then he goes, nah, thinks about it again. And then just hits it. And, like we're saying, if you don't hit the ball and don't take a chance, don't make the keeper work, you're never going to score. and it was a delightful deflection. Absolute delight. That I feel sorry for the boy Masundo. Like he's handballed it, stuck one in pretty much all in off the deflection. But what an atmosphere when that went in. Unbelievable. You must be bouncing that south stand, Kieran.
Oh, I was jumping about like mad. Then I turned around and all I seen was all my pals had fell out of the seats. Supposedly one of them had ended up 5 rows down at one point. It was unreal when I seen it go in the net. But I don't care how it went in the net. It went in, and that's all it mattered at that point.
It was just
absolutely.
It was just, I think, and we've had a couple of our supporters reached out to us on the podcast channel saying we deserved it, and I think on the balance of the game, we probably did. You look at the possession statistic, 50-70-43, more shots than goal, and obviously more shots than target from Ayr. But I think you take your chances. The subs were right. We just upped a level when they came on. Gary Oliver, by the way, can I put a shout out to Gary Oliver? See that boy, and we've always been a bit of critic of Gary Oliver. He doesn't get himself into the box enough. He's always finding himself in positions he shouldn't be. But see the mind, the experienced striker's mind to come on at that point, hold the ball up, win fouls. He is an absolute master. It's like he's John Beardesque in that kind of respect, and he just wins fouls, and he made such a big difference when he came on. So shout out to Gary, but then Kai obviously comes on and scores the goal as well. So, and then it was just all about waiting for that final whistle, and Morrison had that chance. You think, oh, this would be beautiful. Morrison had that big chance at the end when he just sprinted on and then just weathered it. And good save from their keeper, to be fair. But the scenes in the final whistle, unbelievable. And you, Ross, reckon it's the better than the Hibs playoff game?
I think in retrospect now, because see at the time with Hibs, you're thinking when we're going back to the Hibs game with the playoff, you think, Christ, this is it. We've beat Hibs. We're going to do it. We'll move on. But in retrospect, I actually think Monday night was massive, and I think the celebrations were fantastic. Everybody, like, there was a relief, there was happiness, there was just as Kieran said, like the scenes, the limbs when the goal went in, everybody's falling about all over the place, including obviously ourselves over in the main stand. It went absolutely nuts. And for me, that topped the Hibs game. It really did.
And you made the highlights. Well, we both made the highlights because my brother, who's a Falkirk supporter, is the cameraman. So he went, I'll get he's on the TV. So there's Ross at one point trying to start a chant in the main stand, the one-man band. So he's there, and then at the end,
I got a couple going.
Yeah. And then obviously they caught us at the end as well. But it was unbelievable. How was it in the south stand, Kieran?
Oh, it was just great. As soon as the whistle went, it was amazing. Most of us went flying down the front and singing. You see all the players all happy. And then some wee boy turned around to me and went, "Oh, we've got Celtic." And I went, no. And then next minute I hear Inverness, and everyone's just screaming, and it was just amazing to find out that the biggest and the best chance we've got. So we've took it, and it was just unreal at the end of the game.
I know. I mean, the word started to spread, and you just heard this rise in the stadium after the kind of just the exhilaration of the final whistle and the players all joining, and then suddenly and you could see it on the pitch with the players as well. We've got Inverness, and it just spread like wildfire around the stadium, and just this buzz kind of rose up, and you just thought, Jesus, we've got a chance here, and it was unbelievable, absolutely brilliant. Obviously, someone at the SFA forgot to heat the balls up. Big Colin Hendry, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Big Colin, Braveheart there for that. But no, it's just huge. Like you say, Kieran, I would have absolutely feared going to Hampden and taking on Celtic in a semi-final. It could be an absolute cricket score, but Inverness, Ross. What a chance, especially, they've not been brilliant this season. It's revenge time.
Well, listen, Ayr absolutely. Ayr might be above them in the league. They are above them, beg your pardon. So that says a lot as well. But the revenge word for me, I think is big as well. Like, granted, none of these players were here when that happened, but the fans remember. It'll get told. It'll get spoken about. We shouldn't have lost that cup final in 2015. We did. Let's make up for it now. Let's beat them there. I think we'll have 4 or 5 times the crowd that Inverness will have at Hampden as well. And let's just see us get through it. And as you said, whether it's Rangers or Celtic, whoever it is in the final, it is what it is. And if we can get past Inverness, what a day that'll be.
Right, well, let's hear from John McGlynn, who spoke with Lewis.
John, an massive win tonight, and the place was going crazy at the end there.
Yeah, the place was jumping. Yeah, it's amazing to where we were when we came in here in June. To be in a Scottish Cup semi-final is absolutely a dream come true, and it was great to see the fans throughout the game. They sang all the way through the game, and that's the atmosphere that we want. We want to bring this atmosphere here, every week, every time we play, obviously. Tonight it was electric, and fair play to Ayr. They came out the blocks. Thought they started the game much better than us. They were right on the front foot. They deservedly took the lead. A good goal by Big Dipu Akinyemi. We didn't defend it so well. We knew he was a handful. We knew that he was capable of doing that. We didn't deal with it. And we were on the rocks a little bit because they've got a ball across the face of the goal, and again the big fella could maybe have scored at the back post. But we grew into the game, and Max took a big part in the game. Started to show a bit of composure, started to get on the ball. Stephen got on the ball, Hendo got on the ball a bit, started to get more of the ball and build some attacks and get in behind them. And from getting in behind them and getting corner kicks, with a great opportunity to score. Both Cole and Brad at the same move could have scored, and every corner kick we put in actually caused them problems. I felt that we defended our corner kicks extremely well. That was part of the way we picked the team. We had to put height in the team to deal with the threat of the height that Ayr have got, so that was a big part of the tactical changes that we made. We needed some more height in the team. The 3 players we put into the team, like Brad Mackay, Henderson and Wright, are all big players, so that was part of that. We've always, from our point of view, management team, you've got to look at every aspect, and we lost a goal the other night there from a corner kick, and maybe we could have been like a taller team, but we want to make sure that we weren't going to done the night. The guys defended the box really well in these situations, which I'm delighted about. And I thought that last 15 minutes of the first half, last 20 minutes of the first half, gave us the footing to go out and start the second half the way we did. And I thought we dominated the start of the second half. And got a little break. Well, if it's a handball, it's a handball. I'm not seeing it back, but it's a penalty. Callum stuck it away well. And then we've got to thank Big Brian for a couple of great saves. 2 saves in the same attack, 2 brilliant saves. And we get a break, and they miss a penalty. But the guys showed great character, and we've used the subs. And as has been happening for a good number of weeks, it didn't happen on Tuesday night, last Tuesday, but it happened tonight where Kai's came on and he's had a big contribution in the goal that we've got. And then we've got to see out the last 10 minutes or so of the game. I thought we did that very well. So absolutely delighted, very, very proud of the players. What they've achieved here is nothing short of a dream. It's a dream, maybe not quite a miracle, but it's certainly a dream. And now we look forward to Hampden. Both myself and Billy Dodge will be delighted that we're playing each other. We both want to try and avoid Celtic and Rangers to give ourselves the best chance to get there. I watched, like everyone else, on Friday night there. I thought Inverness were a different class. I thought they were really, really good against Kilmarnock. And Billy's got a lot of his players back now, and when he gets these players back, Inverness are a right good side. So I see them climbing the table between now and then. Obviously, there's extra motivation for ourselves now that we've got a semi-final to look forward to, but we want to try and keep our league form going, right to the end of the season, accumulate as many points as we possibly can get there, and see where it takes us.
On McGlynn watch, we're at 3 minutes 44, and I thought he was going to take off there like a bird with the amount of flapping that his arms were doing. But, he didn't smile for Lewis, he smiled for Brian McGlynn at the BBC, but Lewis still can't get a smile out of him. For goodness sake, John, you're just through to Hampden, smile for the boy. But, he sums everything up, John McGlynn. You don't really have to ask him one question. Sums out the whole game. Absolutely, I think, absolute fair assessment, and just delight for him, and obviously the management team and the players. That you can see what it meant to them. I mean, Craig McGuffey was raging. He was meant to come on in the last 30 seconds, whatever, and he was livid. People were coming to calm him down. Like the physio was like, "You're all right."
The ref refused. The ref refused, didn't he?
No, McGlynn called it back. From what I saw,
Did he?
yeah, McGlynn stopped him.
Right.
Like, so McGlynn went, no, because I think we were in the corner at the time. He didn't want to disrupt something. McGuffey was raging. And you could see Ramarn as well. And then some of the pictures, it's just like, I didn't get on. I should have been on.
Yeah,
You know,
didn't
so-
look happy, did he? See, going back to McGlynn there, though, John, he was absolutely wired on when you saw him. Obviously, more so on the BBC because it was probably just
straight
right
after. Yeah.
it was right after the emotion. Everybody stand. In fact, I think there was still people in the stadium because you heard people singing the John McGlynn song in the background.
Yeah.
And but he was absolutely buzzing, and he's right. See what he was talking about, the atmosphere. We do, and it's tough at a regular game sometimes, right? But that is what needs to happen at the stadium because we're far too quiet.
Look at you, Kieran. You need to start this, mate. You're now head. You're like, you need to get a megaphone, mate. You need to start all that that sort of stuff. You know.
Can't go too far. No, but we have. We've had speak with Jamie a couple of weeks ago about atmosphere at the stadium, and I gave him, because he wanted a few ideas of what we could do to improve it. So I gave him, I think it was 9 or 10 ideas. Obviously, some aren't going to be instant. Some could take 5 years, and some could literally just be like, tomorrow it happens. But I think it's with the fans as well, as when you're playing like your Peterhead or your Clyde at home for the 4th year in a row, and it's like, I feel it as well. It's just like, oh, we've already done this. Obviously, the bigger the games are, obviously, Airdrie's kind of becoming a bigger game now, and Dunfermline's obviously a huge game, but it's a weird one because it can be sometimes near the second half a bit of atmosphere, but it does it's a bit flat in the first half, and I understand why, but obviously I think everyone agrees that like we don't want to produce more atmosphere. It's just a bit draining when you see Iowa for the 3rd week in a row at home and stuff like that. So yeah.
Right, well, I'm sending Ross down to the south stand with a megaphone, Kieran, because he's on a quest to get his main stand singing. So I'm just going to send him down your way. He's going to be the ringleader, like you get the German football. Ross, you're on it, mate. You're on it. Let's look at what everybody else is saying about the game. Alan says, fit by bloody hell. What a night. Said after Dunfermline, I thought the subs were wrong. Last night, they won us the game. Maybe I just talk shite. Love every single one of them last night, but special mention to Kinnear's saves, McCann, Big Brad, Hendo, and Cal Morrison.
Absolutely. Bill says, still buzzing. Many congrats to the players' management team as well as the organisers of the display in the Kevin McAllister stand. So that's for you, Kieran. It set the tone for the atmosphere, which has rarely been that good at the stadium. Totally agree. Sharing that with my 11-year-old was special.
You forget those moments, you know. We obviously sit beside a couple of guys that took their kids, and you saw the kids' faces at the end as well, and just overjoyed, you know. You just get, you know, being at that age and thinking, I'm going to get to go to Hampden, you know. It's unbelievable. Craig says, fucking love this club. Sorry. I'm sorry to say, Fiddlesticks love this club, Ross. You see what I did there?
Just ignore that guy.
We can go from one extreme to the other at times, but we always have a night like this in us. The players turned up on the big occasion and delivered an outstanding performance. All credit to everyone at the club. Come on, you Bairns. And that's a very good point, because we all went to Dunfermline last week, you know, and we build ourselves up for these occasions as we did on Monday night there. And, you know, the typical Falkirk story is like, you know, we'll have the TIFO, the stadium's bouncing, we're full, and then we don't win these big games. But Monday was completely different. Loved it.
It was amazing. Alexander says, have to admit, after the Ayr goal and the first 25 minutes, I wanted Kinnear dropped and wondered who would be the man of the match. However, once we got going, it was hard to choose, but for me, Big Brad was solid at the back. Kennedy's goal was outstanding, and the penalties are now becoming like buses.
Grant says, didn't start well. Luckily, it wasn't 2 or 3-0 in the first 30 minutes. That Akinyemi caused all sorts of trouble. He'll end up at a Motherwell or a Hearts or something like that, because he's a right good player and could cause all sorts of problems. Anyway, but once we got through the act together and kept Akinyemi quiet, they didn't cause us too many problems. We did. I mean, I have to say, I think Big Brad stood up there at one point, just learned how to deal with him, which was great. Thoroughly deserved the win, but best atmosphere I've seen at the stadium in a few years. Next stop, Hampden.
Indeed. Chris said, character. We stayed in it after a furious Ayr start and played our game. Got the ball down, passed, shifted wide, up the intensity, and they couldn't deal with it. It looked like we learned our lesson from last week.
Yep. Drew, slow start, done well to keep it 1-0. Subs made a big difference, was a good choice to start. McGlynn, Henderson, Max as the three. Got a bit of luck, but I think we just about deserved it. Brilliant turnaround in the last 12 months. This team have a real chance of doing something special. Absolutely.
Fingers crossed. Jack says, what a team, what a night. Absolutely unreal. We seem to have to settle into games this season, but just fantastic. Kai and Cal stepping up again. Not sure about Righty up front. Well, that's putting it mildly. Gary seemed to do more when he came on. Ran the midfield. Bring on Hampden. Come on, the Birds.
Brilliant. Cal, I'm very hungover. Ayr are nothing special. They've only got that big lad up top. Apart from that, they are nothing. Gaz and Kai changed the game when they came on. And yet again, we got the best draw we could have got. Bring on Inverness in the semis. Come on, the Bairns.
Absolutely. Graham says first half never looked like we could match them. Second half, really only one team in it. Oliver and Kennedy coming on changed the game. Totally agree. Man of the match was Max, in my opinion. How I'd love to sign him.
Oh man, we're no way getting to sign him. I'd love if we got up, and it's big if we got up and we're able to get him on a season-long loan. But St Johnstone will be looking at what he's doing at us and going, we quite fancy him.
Yeah.
We quite fancy him for next season. So, never mind. Westy says Gary Oliver has hands down our best centre forward. His hold-up play to involve Morrison and Kennedy is such an asset. The introduction of him and Kennedy changed the game. We have a real chance now. Let's grasp it.
Indeed. And last but not least, Scott says, tremendous. My wee boy is a ball boy, and I've never seen him buzzing after a game like he was last night. He's only 9 and never experienced any good times. He loved the full-time atmosphere. Let's hope he can experience more good times on the 29th or 30th of April, then promotion.
Yeah, like I say, it goes back to that, taking kids to the game, and someone at 9 is just going to experience the dark times and all, just going to remember the dark times of being a Falkirk supporter. But hopefully they're just going to have this upward rise, and they'll just see the progression of the club over the next few years. Right, let's go, before we talk about the semi-final, let's talk about Falkirk Daft rated player. Who was the best player in the park, Kieran?
Got to be Max for me. I thought he was the best, and he has been unreal for the past few weeks.
Yeah. Ross?
100% Max. Yeah, I thought it was phenomenal again. Nesbitt should just be giving up the number 10 shirt for him, if I'm being honest.
Hot take there. I'm going to go Big Brad. I thought Big Brad was immense at the back. I thought that we talked about it. I thought he should have started against Dunfermline and Hendel, and you could see in terms of physicality, that's what John's maybe learnt from the Dunfermline game. I know Hendel was ill, but I've been calling for Brad, and those when you come up against big teams, Brad is excelled, and he's big and physical, and definitely a threat at set pieces as well. So Big Brad for me, but Max gets it on consensus. Falkirk Dafty, Ross.
Have to go with Matty Wright. Have to do it. It just wasn't good enough again on Monday night, unfortunately.
Kieran?
No, it's got to be Matty Wright. I just didn't think he should put a Falkirk top on again.
I would go with Matty Wright. I mean, he's the obvious choice, but I can't believe I'm about to say what I'm about to say. I've got to give it to Big Call. I've got to, as much as, you know how much I love the big man. I absolutely adore the big man. But he was at fault. He was at fault for the first goal. Gave away the penalty, booked, missed that chance. And you know what? I love the guy, but I think he didn't have the best of games. He settled into it a wee bit, but I'm sorry, Cole. I love you, mate. Don't hold it against me. Don't hold it against me. Right, okay then. So Hampden, here we come, boys. I can't believe it. Still no chat whether it's a Saturday or Sunday. All sorts of rumours flying about. I mean, the broadcasters presumably want it a Sunday. That tends to be when they would like to put the game. I would assume the police would like to put it on a Sunday as well because, the town in Glasgow town, presuming it's going to be a midday-ish kickoff, Glasgow on a Saturday night, they won't want to police that as well. The only problem that we've been hearing, and this has been rumours flying about, is the kilt walks on the Sunday and might be a bit of a drain on police resources. What have you heard anything, Kieran, in terms of what day we're getting? I believe the meeting was today at Hampden, so we'll hopefully hear in the next couple of days.
No, I've not heard anything. I've seen the whole kilt walk thing and I had a wee look into it. It starts at the Glasgow Green and it kind of heads up Dumbarton way. But I don't know. I ken the Old Firm's a massive game and you'll need a lot of police for it, especially after what's just happened in the League Cup final. But I feel like Sunday's the best time to play them because there's less folk in the streets as well, even with this kilt walk being on. So I don't know. I'd prefer the Saturday, and I'd prefer like a 2-3 o'clock kick-off, but we'll probably not even get any of them.
Yeah, Ross, what do you think? I don't know in terms of the timings of the game. I'm just presuming it's going to be a kind of midday game, but would you prefer the Saturday or the Sunday?
Personally, I'd prefer the Saturday. I think it will be a lunchtime kick-off. Looking at the times where these have kicked off before, it's usually 12:15 each day. I don't think the kilt walk's going to have any bearing on it. See, to be honest, if you think about it, right, the kilt walk and the football game would have been ran past the police long before this point, right? So the police are engaged with these things really early on. Now, if Rangers had got played against us and Celtic were playing Inverness, both games would have to be on the Saturday or the Sunday, regardless of the kilt walk. So I don't think it'll make any. There was always going to be potentially a 52,000 crowd on the Sunday. So I think it'll be the Sunday for the Old Firm. They'll not have them in the pubs before the game, and I think we'll be the Saturday kickoff. We'll end up getting a message shortly that it's probably the other way about, but that's what I think will happen anyway.
Yeah, fingers crossed. You want the Saturday. You want the Saturday. How many do you think we'll take?
I think we'll take a right big crowd. Like I know John McGlynn and he's I think he was speaking to STV. He was like, "Oh, we'll take 15,000-20,000." I don't think we would for a semi-final. But I think if we could take 10,000 minimum, that would be absolutely fantastic. We might take more, but I think 10,000 would be great. I don't think Inverness will travel well. They didn't. I had a look. They played in the semi-final before COVID. They played Hearts, and they only had sort of between 2,000 to 2,500 people down.
Really?
At Hampden for a lunchtime kickoff. And that's Hearts. So maybe they'll fancy it more against Falkirk. I don't know, and they would bring a few more, but I think we might be looking at a 16,000 crowd all in, maybe.
I mean, it is a real shame. I get Hampden, I get the money, but could you imagine that game was in Tynecastle? It would. I mean, it's the trip to Hampden, it's special and all that, but I just think atmosphere-wise and a game like that should be in Tynecastle, but the SFA they never do it. What would you prefer, Kieran? Would you prefer something like a Tynecastle, or are you up for a Hampden trip with 15,000 potentially in the stadium?
Obviously, I'd prefer the Hampden trip. I think everyone would agree. But atmosphere-wise, I do think Tynecastle would be better. Just the amount of fans they will take. I think they will take a not bad amount for Inverness standards, but I don't know if it's going to even be anywhere near 5,000. I'm not sure how many we'd take. I don't even know if we'll take 10,000 because I had a look at the last one against Hibs. That was only 6,000-7,000 we took. Obviously, probably this time there will be more, I'd say, but it could be looking really low for a crowd for Hampden. So
Yeah.
Do you know what though? We deserve to be there. It's at Hampden. We'll make the most of it. We'll make ourselves loud. And as Kieran says, depending on how ticket sales and stuff have gone as well, and depending on where they give us, there might be an opportunity for a bit of TIFO again, because it did certainly help Monday night. And yeah, you never know.
Yeah, well, we're looking at you for that one, Kieran. If you're willing to take on the task again.
Well, aye, we've spoke about it, but we're kind of, for like view of the pitch, we're hoping we get the north stand and Inverness just get a wee bit of a corner or something. Because I feel like that's probably better if you get the north stand, you'll see more.
Yeah.
But then it's obviously the whole north stand is it's a 50,000 seater stadium, so it's a lot of, you'd need quite a tight area, a lot of fans in to even make something properly work. But that's what we said. We'll see. We'll maybe try get it if it looks like it's possible, depending on what section we get. I think it really depends what section we all get situated in. But we have spoke about maybe if we don't do a semi-final one, if we get to the final, that's a definite. But one maybe for the playoffs as well.
Yeah.
Playoff final.
Yep.
But then I'm saying playoff final. Hopefully we get to that. But that's what the plan would be as well.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed for all that. Kieran, thank you for coming on. Thanks for that fantastic display on Monday night. If you want to be like Kieran, be a guest pundit on the podcast, please drop us a note. You can do it at our fancy new email address. You can type in anything at falkirkdaft.co.uk. You can say Ross is a one-man band at falkirkdaft.co.uk, the Ginger God of Pod at falkirkdaft.co.uk. Type in anything. Your email will get to us and we'll get you on next week, or you can drop us a DM on our socials, Twitter, Facebook or Insta. Kieran, thanks again. All the best.
Thanks for having me.
This is Falkirk Daft.
So, back to league business now, Ross. It feels just a bit of a come down, doesn't it? It's back to Queen of the South away down to Palmerston this weekend. Are you going to make it?
Yeah. No,
I think
it's going to. I think it's going to be a big. I think a big crowd will head down. Actually, John. Obviously, the feel good factor has returned after Monday night. I think the fans want to show the team that we're not finished with the league either. I think the players need to show that to the fans as well in this first league game after that Dunfermline debacle. And no, I think Queen of the South will be up for it. They seem to have been on a bit of a resurgence since Marvin Bartley took over, haven't they? I think they're forming a lot better than it was.
They're kind of a bit. I thought Marvin might have had a bit more of a bounce in terms of the results, but looking at their last 5 results, they drew there at the weekend with Clyde. Then I can't remember who they beat the week before. But all in all, 2 wins, 2 wins, a draw, and 2 losses in the last 5 for Queens. Currently sitting, I mean, they're obviously well clear of relegation. It just seems that it's going to be a build for next season for them. I think looking at it, they're 9 points off the playoff places. I think now realistically it looks between Airdrie, Alloa and Edinburgh for the 3rd and 4th place in the playoff places. Montrose could sneak back into it. Obviously, they've got their game in hand against us. So they've got an outside chance of sneaking back into it as well, but we will wait and see how that goes. But yeah, Queens, it seems like it's going to be a build for next season for Marvin Bartley. Rooney Payton, always a problem, isn't he? I mean, that's him. 18 goals for the season.
Yeah, no, he's a nuisance, and we'll need to be on our guard, as we did on Monday night with Akinyemi. Obviously, completely different players, but 18 goals is no mean feat. So yeah, we just need to be on our guard. Obviously, they've got what's his name, Josh Todd, who was with us as well with his exceptionally long hair, unless he's had a haircut again. But he's had a point to prove the last couple of times we've played Queens. So we need to watch him in the midfield. But I think we'll win the midfield battle. I think if Hendo, McGlynn, Max will be there. Kai Kennedy might find his way back into the starting 11. I'd be shocked if Gary Oliver doesn't. I think the defence is solid and will be retained as well.
So from what I'm reading into that, are you dropping Nesbitt for Saturday?
Do you know, it might happen, John. He's been subbed a couple of times now in recent weeks. It's a tough one because obviously McGlynn likes him, and I'm not saying I don't like Aidan. But when he's on form, he's on form. But when he's not, he's definitely off it. And I don't think he's done that much the last few games either. So, do you know what? I'm going to stick my neck out, John, and say yeah. I think I would, based on how the midfield finished on Monday night. I think I would.
So I guess your team is then Kinnear, looking at Rowe at right back, McCann at left back, Mackay and Dawson at centre half.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would keep that in there. Max, I thought was fantastic. Obviously, we've given a man of the match. He's not going to drop McGinn and Hendo. Callum's obviously full of beans, full of confidence as he tends to be.
He's got to go back to the right. He's got to go back out to the right, though, doesn't he? That's the problem. I think you've got to put Callum back out to the right, and that leaves you the choice of either Max or Hendo. Because I don't think Nesbitt, he's never shown up that brilliantly when he's played on the wing. So I think Kai would be the obvious choice to come back in. And then I guess Matty Wright doesn't start for you, so it'd be Gary Oliver, or would you bring Burrell in, or
no? Obviously Burrell's had
he's done well against Queen of the South, hasn't he?
Against Queen of the South, he's done really well. You never know, but he does seem way down the pecking order just now. So on the face of it, you would think Rumarn's not going to get a start on Saturday, but who knows? Maybe we'll keep it fresh.
I mean, it's been fairly, one way for us this season against Queens, which has been surprising, because they usually give us a decent game. But, we've had 5-2, 3-1, 3-1. Marvin Bartley sent off there at the weekend as well. I don't know if he had appealed that or he was looking to appeal that, but he was sent off against Clyde. I
didn't know that actually.
Yeah, it was a bizarre. They scored they had a goal disallowed pretty much late on in the game, which they should have went on to win it, but ended up drawing it. But he was sent off after apparently saying something to the referee. So I wonder if he'll be in at the stands come Saturday for that.
Yeah, and that, do you know what? A small thing like that might have an adverse effect on them as well, because they've not got the direction that they've been used to since he took over. So I'll take anything, John. Anything that's going to get us 3 points, even a small thing like that. So it would be a huge 3 points. Who's the Pars got?
They've got Edinburgh at home.
So you're thinking it is a home win. The Edinburgh results versus Dunfermline this year, I don't think have been that great. So yeah, it's but then, as we've said, football's football. Anything can happen, and
I mean, certainly there's going to be pressure on Edinburgh though. When you look, how they're going, they're obviously at the moment sitting in third, but Airdrie have got Peterhead at home, which you think will be a win, especially after they're pumping a Kelty there at the weekend, and then you've got Alloa at home to Clyde. So the pressure immediately amounts back onto Edinburgh if they don't get something at East End Park. So you never know. You never know if they can go and take 2 points off Dunfermline. Listen to me being all positive here, and we get a win down there. It's back to 6. So yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. But score prediction for the game.
I'm going to go similar to how we've played against them so far. I'm going to go 3-1 Falkirk.
3-1 Falkirk. There you go. Hat-trick of 3-1 wins. I will take a 1-0. I just don't. But then I've got that funny feeling that after the highs of Monday night, there's always a drop-off in the next game. So put it this way, see if we walked away with a draw, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, listen,
and years gone past and what have you, in leagues gone past, you would have went, a draw down at Palmerston would be a decent result, but we're in the position that we are, where we need to win.
We need to be looking to win. Yeah, we do. Big time.
Yeah. So I will see what happens on Saturday, but come on, the Bairns as ever.
This is Falkirk Daft.
And that is it for this week's Falkirk Daft. Thank you very much for listening. You can still hear my voice. I lost it on Monday night. Hopefully it'll be recovered for the next Falkirk Daft when we will look back at the Queen of the South game. And then who are we on to after that? Is it Kelty? I think it is, isn't it?
We do Friday night football, John. A week on Friday, we're at home to Kelty.
I love a wee Friday night game. I'm looking forward to that. It's my brother's birthday, so I booked us into hospitality for that as well. So looking forward to.
Oh yes, of course you are. That'll be amazing.
Taking the old complimentary bar package as well. So I'll be getting well laid in about that. So looking forward to that.
Well, if there's any extras going, John, just invite us in.
Yeah, will do. I'll sneak some down. I can't say that. Right, okay. Listen, thank you very much. It's been a great week. Last week we were on here lamenting the display against Dunfermline, but you know what? Here's a question for you, Ross. Right, if I'd given you 2 weeks ago, I said, right, we're going to get beat off Dunfermline, but we're going to get Ayr in the quarterfinals. We're going to beat them and get to the semis. What one would you have taken?
No, I would have took the cup win, John, because it's going to be
liar.
It's going to be huge for the club. No, I would have done. As in knowing that we'd get Inverness in the semi. Is that in the mix as well?
No, I hadn't said that. No.
All right, okay. I don't know in that regard because I think the Inverness carrot's huge because we've got an opportunity to get to a final. Granted, it's against one of the two, but that's a tough question.
I know.
It's a tough question, John.
You don't have to answer. Listen, if you want to answer that question, drop us on our Twitter. Let us know what would you rather had. In fact, we might put up a wee poll on that and just to see what people's reaction to that would have been. But listen, thank you very much for listening. Falkirk Daft. We're all looking forward to Hampden. Cannot wait. I mean, we've got a long way. We've got a lot of games to get through before we eventually get there. But you can just feel the buzz. Ross, you're thinking supporters bus through, aren't you? You're going to go supporters bus.
Yeah, I think we'll be Elliott's there and back. If we win, Elliott's. I think back to the Hibs semi in 2015. After Elliott's, that full afternoon and evening was just fantastic. You're amongst Falkirk people and everybody's buzzing and so I think so. What you're thinking about?
I'm thinking early doors Glasgow. As usual, like my mate's big Falkirk supporter now lives down south. Straight after the game on Monday, booked his flights. Shout out to Jamie Douglas as well.
Yes,
and I kept saying he was from Montana. He's actually from Texas. He's booking flights to come over for the semi as well, and I'm sure a lot of Bairns abroad will be thinking the exact same thing. So he's coming up from down south. So I think I'm going to beat him in Glasgow because he's going to stay there, and we're going to have carnage into Glasgow. A few drinks before the game, out to the game, and then back into Glasgow. Hopefully with a big win under our belts.
That's the plan, pal. That's the plan.
Listen, if you want to get our merch, the links are below. I will set that up, but if you want, it's 20% off from the 17th. The bucket hats are on the way. Ross will have news on them next week. Hopefully get them in for the semis. Hopefully it's a nice warm day at Hampden that day as well. Get them on. And if you want to sponsor the show, we'd love to hear from you. Just drop us an email. I don't know what to say now. John@falkirkdaft.co.uk. John@falkirkdaft.co.uk or advertising@falkirkdaft.uk or sales@falkirkdaft.co.uk. Whatever you want, ram it in. We'd love to hear from you and get you on the podcast as one of our sponsors. Right, on to Queens, on to Palmerston. Here we go again. But until next time,
expect unexpected, pal.